Dodged a bullet there. Okay, I'm not in? All right. Hey there. Eric Scull here. I'm here with members of StarKid. Most of them are so famous they need no introduction. All the same, I wish for them, you guys should introduce yourselves.
I'm Jim Povolo.
I'm Eric Congale.
You probably don't need to know this because I'm so famous, but my name is Brian Rosenthal.
I'm Julia Albane.
And I'm Robert Mannion.
The most famous of all.
So guys, you have a killer season, the 2014 StarKid summer season, and I live in Chicago, so I was able to catch the two shows that you're doing this year. I have to say they are above and beyond. Consistently, you guys have, just produced increasingly cool content throughout the years, so that is crazy. Specifically, between Annie, a parody, and the Trail to Oregon, it seems also that the style has changed with it. You have basically a choose-your-own-adventure story with Trail to Oregon, and with Annie, you have a musical where the leads don't do any singing. So I kind of want to ask, what do you think is next for Team StarKid? What is it kind of intentional to sort of break the boundaries of traditional stage musicals and parodies, and where do you see it going in the next season even?
Well, I as a room full of people unqualified to speak on this because no one here wrote those two shows. I am a little qualified because I just know Matt and Nick who wrote them. So the reason why this year the musicals are so different. So last year we made Twisted. I did co-write that. It's very difficult to write a musical where there's basically two teams. One's the book writing team living in one city, and one's the songwriting team living in another city. So it's hard to coordinate. Something that's very cohesive, like a musical play, and it was frustrating and difficult. So I think that with Annie, what the Langs were trying to do was, let's just write a show that we can completely control. We'll write it, and the songs won't matter as much. They won't be as integral to the plot. They'll be more like montage songs in a film. And so it made it easier to do where the songwriting team was in another city. With Trail to Oregon, they worked with Jeff Blim, who wrote all the songs, and he did live in Chicago with us. So that is a more integrated musical. And as far as why the concept is so wild, it's an interactive show. That's just the theatrical genius of the Langs. But I couldn't speak to what they're going to do next.
I think it's also just really fun to try things that haven't tried before. I feel like a lot of StarKid is just experimentation, screwing around, and then trying to make ourselves laugh at each other. And when we find that, then usually it's something that a greater audience would enjoy.
Well, I have to say I have a very specific question for Eric. There was a particular physical challenge with your role in this summer season, I believe. How did you sort of prepare for that? Is it a series of stretches for your role in Annie?
No spoilers, please. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen this show?
Seeing it this week.
So I have a very strange physicality. I think I got the part because I could do the voice and the physicality, mainly because I do a lot of yoga. I'm a big yoga fan. And so it doesn't bother me at all to do that. I actually have a great time on stage. Yeah.
Now, are any of you guys doing the sort of the after-hours events, performing and otherwise doing sketching and writing and that sort of thing? And if so, what are they? Can we still see them? Did we miss them? What's going on with that?
Hey, Julia has arranged all this.
Yeah, I kind of helped produce the late night series. That was kind of something that I was really excited about the idea of doing when the summer season was presented. So we just really wanted to give a chance for everyone to maybe present stuff that they wanted to do that doesn't typically, or skills that don't typically get showcased in the StarKid shows, in a setting where you have an audience, but maybe it's a little looser, a little more relaxed, a little less pressure. And we've had a little bit of everything. They've done sketch shows. This weekend they had a scripted play that has been running. We had a dance show. We've done readings. Eric's been doing readings out of his book. We've done readings of new works, stand-up comedy, just so much. Literally there's been a late night almost every single night since we opened, which has been awesome. And it's had the right balance of put together content with a relaxed vibe, you know what I mean? So everyone just kind of gets to see their their colleagues do their own thing, and it's been great. And I think for this last week we have Meredith and Brian still have one more sketch show that they're going to run. They did an excellent sketch show. I think tonight or tomorrow is the last night of the StarKid sketch show that has about 10 or 12 people in it. Next week, the Tin Can Brothers are doing a late night, so that's Brian, Joey Richter, and Corey Lubowich, and maybe a couple other things to end out the week. So it's been a busy summer between the two main stages and the late nights. We've been doing a lot, but it's been fun. I mean, Eric and I, you guys aren't there currently, but Eric and I have been there this summer, and we've been doing. It's just been great. It's been a really fun summer of watching each other do work. And I think what's nice about doing two shows this summer is that the casts are split. So a lot of us haven't watched each other perform in years because we've been performing with each other. So it was really fun on opening night for each cast to watch the other cast and go, oh my God, he's so good. She's so good. Oh my God, they're so good. It's nice to remember these people that we've worked with forever, how fun it is to watch your friends perform.
Sorry, and it's so wild that I can go to Chicago this week and be in a show and see 5 shows in 4 days, you know? So, like, if you're going to make the effort to come out to Chicago, it's way more bang for your buck.
I would completely agree with that. I mean, seeing just the amount of content that you guys are putting out, as you say, just in this season, in between this season, it's astounding. It's absolutely like it surpassed everything that you guys have done before. I did want to talk about casting because you mentioned having split casts, and Julia, you're in Annie as well. What sort of decides? I mean, who does the casting for you guys, and how do you decide? Sort of, is it a matter of like personal interest for what shows you want to be in, or you think your talents will fit the most, or who places you in sort of which show in terms of that you?
I mean, Nick and Matt, this has started within the last few shows that they've held auditions among our group, and mostly just so that everyone can come in and gets a chance to read and maybe show something that the Langs haven't seen before, or for the Langs to confirm, like, yes, this is the right person for the role. So everyone came in and auditioned. I think specific for these two shows, the big one was that Oregon is a much more song-heavy show, so the stronger singers ended up in that show. And then for Annie, a lot of the jokes of Annie and the story of Annie have been developed over the years among some of the friends, specifically the guys. So a lot of those people that have been in on those jokes were cast in Annie. But it really just, that they kind of put people where they felt was best. We all came in and read for multiple parts. At one point, it was the idea that everyone was going to be in both shows, that you'd have a bigger part in one show and be in the ensemble of the other, and then vice versa. I am glad that didn't happen. I think that would have been a nightmare. And because it's 8 performances a week. Also, just rehearsing. Because rehearsing 2 shows at once, they were able to split. But if we were all in both shows, I don't know how we would have rehearsed both shows. Because as it was, we kind of pulled it off by the skin of our teeth the night before we opened. So yeah, it's the Langs mostly that really place each other. And I'm sure Jeff had input on Oregon as well. But yeah.
I do have to ask, because there are scripts sitting on this table that you guys have brought here. Starship Requiem. Have you guys done the read-through yet at Leaky? How did that go in general? Was there a good audience reaction to that?
I thought the audience reacted really well, especially considering that it's a very heady show. There's a lot of high concepts, a lot of giant robots, a really visually immersive world that the audience wasn't seeing at all. So for them to follow read along was very impressive, and they did so really well. And I think it speaks to just the strength of the writing, because line for line it's really strong, and there are also some incredible concepts in the show from a sci-fi and fantasy perspective overall.
Yeah, I agree. Went great.
Do you think that obviously you guys have got so much going on that this won't, ever see sort of the full puppeteering stage treatment. Do you think they wrote it specifically because it was never going to be performed, so that there might be super high, you said giant robots, like things that you just would never really be cool, like comfortable visualizing ever on stage?
This show is written, we do this thing fairly often, about twice a year, called 24-hour theater, where we'll all get as many people together and over to the Lang's house, and everyone will write something over the course of 12 hours. Or no, 24 hours. So we'll start at noon, and the next day noon, we'll all read.
But everybody cheats all the time, especially the Langs and Eric.
Yeah, well, the cheating would be
They're the biggest cheaters.
You have
The-
the idea already.
there's there's literally no rule that you can't have preconceived it or you can't have written before.
They do write it before. I've seen it done.
Yeah, oh,
Not
sure.
every time.
But all right, so that's how Twisted got written. We'd written
I'm
about.
not saying it's bad. I don't think cheating is always bad, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a creative exercise that I think is so valuable, and a lot of cool stuff's come out of it. Lauren and Julia did a version of the Moms. It was awesome. It was awesome. The first year we did it, they did a version of the Moms. The first act of Twisted got written during one of these things, and the year before we wrote the first act of Twisted, Nick and Matt wrote this, and I don't think it was with intention to put it on. Nick and Matt are kind of like they're sequel-oriented people. They're always joking about sequels, and so it was a joke that they would have written a sequel to Starship, because the idea of mounting another one would be crazy. But it came out so well that I think this year they thought maybe we could do this as one of the StarKid shows. So this was planned to be one of the shows for this season, and it only didn't happen because of scheduling problems with some of the key cast that couldn't make it to the season. So it ended up getting replaced with Oregon. And so I couldn't speak to if they're going to produce it ever as a full musical. I think it'd be great if they did. It's very funny and very good. Yeah.
Also, though, the thing is when you read, the Langs also always write in stage directions that will never be accomplished on the stage. Like they don't write as if it's going to be a stage thing. So I mean, not in a bad way. They just write for what they envision, and then they know that they're going to adjust it for the stage later. Which has been funny though, because in the past, sometimes early on when they were working with the designers, and they would present these scripts, and the designers didn't realize yet that the Langs knew it was a joke and wasn't ever going to happen. You'd get these designers that'd be like, okay, so how exactly is this 200-foot tall robot going to walk through the door or whatever? They'd be like, wait a minute, how am I supposed to make this happen? And they're like, no, that doesn't happen. It's a joke. So it's almost like I wish everyone could read every script, because the stage direction the Langs write are just as funny as the scripts themselves, and they'll never get seen by people.
The funniest one is from the first Harry Potter when the Avada Kedavra spell bounces back onto Voldemort. The stage directions say, Joe Walker dies. He evaporates. He just evaporates. He's dead on stage. It's very, very funny.
That's crazy. I have to ask, with the Trail to Oregon being the Oregon Trail video game that we all played in school on like the Apple Mac computers when we were young, nothing is safe. I mean, you guys have touched Disney, You're Not Afraid, you've done a ton of sci-fi, everything else. What from your childhoods, each, separately, would you now like to see turned into a StarKid show if you're feeling nostalgic about something that hasn't yet been adapted?
Rainbow Bright.
Oh, sorry.
Do you guys remember Rainbow Bright? No, it was like a girl, and she like.
No, I don't remember.
You remember Rainbow Bright, the Rainbow Bright series, and she would like go on these little adventures, and she had like those tall, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, Rainbow Bright.
Yeah, I'd like to see Light Bright, the musical.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Light Bright. I'm just thinking of Light Bright.
Well, I think with the Langs' interest in My Little Pony and the similarities between Rainbow Bright and My Little Pony, they could do some sort of world bender mishmash.
You know what, dude, the thing about the My Little Pony, what's funny about that is when we were in high school, Nick and I did make a My Little Pony play. We did it. We took the My Little Pony movie script and we adapted it as a play and performed it as part of high school play running. It's a high school play performance competition we used to do, and it went over like gangbusters. People loved it. It was amazing. But now My Little Pony is so. Yeah, these high school audience these kids that we're competing against were dying. Man, it worked great. But My Little Pony now has been revamped as the best cartoon show ever made. So it's like you can't make fun of it. It's impossible. But they already did it in the sense that Puppy Kitties is a parody of that kind of animation style. The Puppy Kitties.
Puppy Kitties is so obscure.
No one knows what that is? No one's seen the.
Our viewers do.
So that's the kind of thing, but that's a tough question with the StarKid stuff, because you are sort of like after Twisted, we were like, what could you do ever again? Like they've done Harry Potter, Disney, they already did Lord of the Rings, sci-fi.
Retouch that though, you know what I mean? They could redo Lord of the Rings. I mean, there's also like, Me and My Dick was a totally original thing. So it's like there is the capacity for original stuff, and Oregon's an original thing. I mean, it is. Sort of, but it's so not about the video game. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's so not about the video game. It's really, So I think there's the capacity for original stuff as well.
Sure, you can always do an original thing, but there's something appealing about taking something that people already have ideas about and playing on those ideas.
Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, it's a tough thing though to figure out.
Okay, so I think we're nearing the end of our interview, but I do want to ask, while we're here, since you guys have done Holy Musical Batman, obviously 2 starships, you forgot about Batman, who's your favorite superhero, what type of bug is your favorite bug, and what's your favorite actual Disney musical? Those 3 questions for each of you.
I'd say I do love Spider-Man a lot, but my favorite superhero is probably Morph from X-Men. He's a lot like Mystique, who Jennifer Lawrence plays in the movies. Morph, yeah.
I love Morph.
Yeah, but he's more of a prankster. He's got a very funny sense of humor, and in the animated series, he dies immediately by the Sentinels. And then he comes back, but I wouldn't want to spoil too much. I know you're going to watch that pretty soon. You said Bug, and what was the last one? Disney musical would probably be The Lion King. I'm a bandwagoner, I guess. And Bug, that's a tough one. I'll just say Bug from Starship because I don't have a real answer.
Yeah, so my favorite superhero is definitely Spider-Man. I love earthworms. They're my favorite bug. And are they an insect? Is an earthworm an insect? And they're all wonderful musicals, man. Probably the one I like the most is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Yeah.
I'm going to change my answer to Roly Poly.
Okay.
I don't know who my favorite is, but I think the most badass superhero is Gambit. Just shows up with his exploding cards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bug. Yeah. Earthworms, man. I don't know.
Cool.
It's just cool.
Yeah.
And I like the Sword and the Stone.
Yeah.
I like the Sword and the Stone. Julia.
I don't follow a lot of superhero stuff, so I'm not going to pretend. So I'm going to skip that one. I like inchworms. You know those little green inchworms that come out in the spring? Yeah, I love those little guys. And Mulan is probably one of my favorite Disney musicals. So good.
My favorite superhero is Batman, but I think it's because I love the villain so much in Batman, which makes him awesome. But also he's a great character as well. My favorite bug is, it's actually this micro species of bug, which is a type of parasite that that crawls into birds' brains and takes over their mind.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, well, I think it's fascinating. I think it's amazing that a bug can do that. And what was the other one? Favorite favorite Disney film. I just think they're fascinating. Favorite Disney film, I think, is The Aristocats. I watched that recently, and I think it's just lovely.
I'm changing my bug one more time to monarch caterpillars, yeah.
Okay. Well, final question. The world is saturated with great television these days. We've got Game of Thrones. We've got a lot of people watching Once Upon a Time. If you guys could be on one of those shows, as actors, what would you like to? What show would you want to be on? What? Yeah, that's currently on the air.
Start with Robert.
I'm going to sound like a weirdo. I'd love to be on Hannibal. I think it's such a great show. I'm going to sound like I'm this morbid person, but
All right. I would love to be on either. There's two sides. It's if I wanted to stretch dramatically, then I was obsessed with True Detective. So I'd love to see a True Detective with 2 females. But then to have fun, New Girl, because that cast is so funny and they seem like they have so much fun.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe True Detective as well, because the writing is just so fantastic.
Yeah.
But I would also love to do a voice on Rick and Morty. That show is so funny.
Yeah, I would want to be on the Mindy Project, because I love Mindy Kaling. Or on Community. I would love to be on that, but I don't think I'm good enough for that.
I would love to be on Louis. He's a huge stand-up inspiration for me. And also, I would love to voice. I won't go into specifics of anime, but I would like to do anime voices. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you all for your time, and we certainly hope that you keep coming back to LeakyCons. We love seeing you. We love seeing everything new that StarKid does, so keep it up. Thank you for your time.